Well, I have two more questions after this, but for right now, we are going to jump over to the tier list, which I don't know if either one of you have done tier list, but if you can see my screen, this is a tier list. So
Oh, yeah, these
look
lists.
at
I've
this
seen it.
thing.
yep. So what we have here is just some of the horror franchises. Some of them you have covered on the show. Say how you feel about each franchise, and if you both can't agree on where these ones should fall, I will be the tiebreaker.
I think I'm excited to watch this you drag and drop into this list live.
Oh,
think
I
it's-
am ready for the hot drag and drop action. I cannot wait. I've never seen this before, but this appears to be like it's going to be really cool. I've never heard of Tier Maker, but this is neat.
But to start things off, this is a franchise that you've covered a little bit of. It's the Leprechaun. You've covered this one with your buddies James and Chelsea from Dead Meat. So how are we feeling about Leprechaun? Warwick Davis?
I think this has to be the trash, right? I mean, like, or are we in Or I'll let you make that decision, Andrew. But I don't think any of these are any good. So
the only thing positive about these movies that I will say is that with our now, hopefully we keep it up this year, scheduling permitting, new tradition of having James and Chelsea on the show to talk about these movies have given me nothing. I think they are nothing. Aside from hanging with James and Chelsea to do the show episodes, I don't think about this franchise.
Yeah.
So it's trash for me.
It's trash. All right. Well, we agree it's trash. I think that's it. We're dragging. It's dropped.
Dropped.
I love it.
Look at that. Oh, this is cool. All right.
Getting over it in the found footage territory, Paranormal Activity.
I'm not super familiar. I mean, I saw the first one and I liked it enough. That's kind of where I'm at.
I am not don't come to me looking for positive words about fucking found footage. All right. Let's just get that out there. I will say with that though, I did see the first one of this. It scared the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, couldn't tell you a thing about it. And then the third one I remember is where I totally fucked off because it was a prequel movie set in the 90s where all the footage was coming from a camcorder and it was all just 16:9. And I was like, this is garbage and I'm too much of a tech nerd to accept this.
I mean, Jason Blum took that blue filter and he took it to the bank because that he made the same movie 7 times. 7 times. The first one is a good movie, so I'm comfortable with it being in
I think we're Let's
Yeah.
All right.
That works.
Now,
it up.
Halloween.
Steve, I'm gonna toss out God tier, man. That's just me.
I think you have to. I think 1, 3, 2 is a lot of fun. 4 is really good. 6, and there's definitely low points. And even I like that first Gordon Green remake or requel or whatever the hell you want to call it. So yeah, it's God tier. It's got. I mean, and also even if the rest were pretty bad, between 1 and 3 it's God tier, I think, honestly.
Yeah I think also you have to throw in cultural significance too. I mean, it's just especially that 78, it just inspired so much after it.
Yeah, the best when Halloween, when the series is at its best, it's better than any of the movies I think on this list. But also the lowest that this franchise goes is also pretty bad. I mean, Halloween Ends was not great. Curse of Michael Myers is a dumpster fire. And Resurrections.
Oof.
Oh yeah,
the Busta Rhymes, man.
Yeah, I mean the lows are pretty low for sure. I mean, especially that Curse of Michael Myers. What are you even doing with your life making that movie? But still way too much awesomeness that outweighs all that.
But then moving on now to I guess we could say your franchise, since you're now you're out there fighting Ghostface. Scream.
I do like to say the reason, since we are canon now, and the reason that Sidney Prescott is not in the events of Scream 6 is because she's having an affair with my character, the Steven Sadak of that universe.
Right.
And it's tearing her family apart. So she was too busy dealing with that, a domestic drama. an erotic direct.
She chose you over Patrick Dempsey.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
Precisely.
Which is cool because when you watch Scream 6, you can know that like somewhere on the other side of the country, there's like a Cassavetes movie going on, starring Steve and Neve Campbell. I would toss it to good because, yeah, I mean, Scream, that was a movie, you know, that was like, I probably caught that on video maybe like 2 years after my like horror blossoming. And so I was like ready for that movie. And, you know, I still watch it to this day. And 3, I just think is a truly abysmal fucking movie. And I think honestly, a lot of it, even though like I don't have anything against them as characters or as actors or artists, but like the addition of Jay and Silent Bob in that
I was gonna say, when are you guys meeting up with Jay and Silent Bob? Since now you're both canon in the
It's also true.
universe.
It's just so dumb. Like,
and I think I also sort of like I judge it a little harsher than say the Halloweens. Like you're saying, like the first one's great, then there is a drop off. I judge a drop off a little harsher on the Screams because in those 2 and 3, specifically 3, because it's still the same creative team. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's the same cast. It's the same. It's sort of like Halloween, you know, was everywhere, each and every way. You know what I mean? Like maybe Carpenter was involved, more than likely he wasn't, et cetera, et cetera. I do think that like I judge it a little harsher because especially that 2 and 3, and for me 4, I know people like 4, because it is the same creative team and it is sort of like running an idea somewhat into the ground, which is why I like these requel ones, because we're kind of having fun with it. So that's a good for me. And I think I mean, and yes, I could close my eyes and tell you line for line what happens in Scream without even having to watch it.
It's Chucky, the Child's Play movies.
It's great.
You know, I would somewhere between all right and leaning more towards
you know, I'm gonna go with you towards because I think that first Child's Play is good.
Good movie.
And then it's just I mean, like some people really have a lot of affection for the Jennifer Tilly adventures. And then you also have to remember there's like 3 to 5 super secret direct-to-DVD versions of these that you will never watch, that you'll never know about, and I think that brings the average down considerably.
I will say I kind of liked the reboot where it was Mark Hamill doing the voice. I thought that was kind of neat. It didn't do anything, so they never continued it. I would be interested in continuing the show that came out. I watched like the first couple episodes. I thought, all right, like there's something here. And you know, you got what's his name back, Brad Dourif doing the voice. So that was neat. But yeah, overall, it's just a franchise I've never been really invested in.
But now moving on to, I'll personally say one of probably my least favorite franchises. One that probably never should have been a franchise to begin with.
Damn right.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
R.I.P. Toby Hooper.
So this is the question, I guess, Andrew. Like, do we? I think God Tier's out. I don't think God Tier's going to happen.
Totally. Out.
It's really between good and all right for me, and you could talk me into either. You can even talk me into but I feel like with the first movie being what it is, it's too disrespectful to go
People have been chasing it, you know, for decades. You know, to this day, we are still trying to one-up Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it has not happened. I am a bigger fan of the second one than you are. But I feel like after that, it is a one-way ticket to dog shit city. 3 is awful. That Next Generation or whatever is terrible. All of those Silver Dunes, Michael Bay reboots are fucking abysmal, and I am sorry. I know there are a lot of folk out there that dug on that requel that came out last year or the year before with this, and it was like, what's her face back playing Sally Hardesty for I mean, it's just like, that was one of the worst movies I saw whatever year that came out, like minus that chainsawing a bunch of douchebags in a bus thing, which was a cool scene, but like none of those movies outside of like those first 2, I don't think like have said anything about anything.
Yeah, Andrew, just to say, no, with that reboot they did there on Netflix, they didn't even, well, obviously the actress who played the original Sally had passed away. Marilyn Burns, I believe is her name.
Yes.
And you know how they treat that, and if you remember how they treat that character, they just throw her in the trash. They literally throw her in the trash. She dies amongst garbage.
And it's a weird, like, you know, people were saying that was like a response to the David Gordon Green Halloween and like what they wound up doing with the Laurie Strode character. And it's like, even if that's true and that was the intention, that's kind of dumb. So that movie was a total failure.
Saw 10 movies now. 10 Saw movies. Can you believe it?
I gotta go trash here, dude. I'm sorry. I think I've never liked any of them. I think the first one has merits. You know what I mean? Like, you have to give it credit for the budget and the idea that it actually was spawned this, enormous franchise and made so much money and like so many people care about it. I get that. I don't trash on them. I do think it's just trash, Andrew.
Yeah, no, complete agreement. As someone who's literally seen all of these movies and will see that Saw X. It's just, I agree, Steve, to the point where it's like, what it did for indie filmmaking at the time and being such like a huge Sundance thing and all that stuff. It's really great. I could not get into, and I've tried literally 10 times already in one way or another. And it just, I remember seeing that first one in theaters and being like, okay, like with all of that, like George W. Bush era torture porn shit.
Yep.
And I was not down to clown with any of that. So trash is totally fine for me.
Some would say probably the most iconic horror franchise of them all, even though it's been coming up almost on 20 years since we've seen Jason on the big screen, Friday the 13th.
Wow, that's true. That's terrifying because I very clearly remember watching that movie as an adult. So that's terrifying that it's been that long.
Those are some great theater experience stories you guys told on the episode about that remake. But
ooh, that was a rough night for this guy, right?
Yeah, adult in quotation marks. I think this is God tier, Andrew. I don't know about you.
I mean, I will say there's just so much nostalgia built into it. Like I said, like Friday the 13th, Jason Lives. That was like one of my first memorable horror. Like I clicked in for that movie, so I got to give it that. So yeah, I mean, God tier for sure.
We kind of have to go God tier, or else Eric Siska, if he finds out we didn't do that, he'd be really upset.
Yeah, so then he's putting on the mask and coming after us.
The Jason mask or the Boba Fett mask?
Oh, you know what? Depends on the day with that guy.
Dealer's choice.
But moving on to Jason's competitor, another biggie, Nightmare on Elm Street, another one we have not seen. Honestly, kind of glad we haven't seen another Nightmare on Elm Street movie since that abysmal 2010 remake.
Oh, Trash Town, that movie. This, what are you thinking, Steve? This is a tough one.
I might go good. I think that seems reasonable. You can talk me into good or all right. Where are you leaning?
I would say good because I think, that first one, of course, incredible. 2, I think, is a really interesting movie. And like, now that people are kind of all these years later, like getting hip to what it was doing, I think that's fucking great. It's a great queer horror movie, no doubt. One of them has like a Roseanne and Tom Arnold cameo.
Freddy's dead. Freddy's dead.
I'm I guess a little bit partial to New Nightmare as like a proto Scream kind of thing, but then I don't give a shit really about Freddy versus Jason, and that Jackie O. Haley movie was awful. I mean, like, say what you want about the 2009 Friday the 13th. At least that didn't try to like flip the script and try to like tell you why it was sort of okay that Jason turned out the way he did, like they tried to do with Freddy. They're like, he got railroaded by the court and all this. No. So yeah, I'm fine with good.
And I will always give the advantage to the Friday the 13th remake, specifically that sleeping bag kill in the first like 20 minutes. Better than anything in that in that Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Kind of a surprise that this one is still chugging along the Conjuring universe. So
so we're saying universe here. So we're counting the Nun. We're counting Annabelle.
We're counting those bad Annabelle movies. We're counting those terrible Nun movie. But they just recently said that Curse of La Llorona, it doesn't count. So even they were like, we're not touching it.
What, they get a red card from the referee on that one? Like, what happened? It's out. It's out, La Llorona. I'm leaning towards all right. I'm leaning because I think the first two those first two Conjuring movies are really great. I think they're some of the better horror movies American big budget horror movies that we've seen in the last 20 some odd years. The third Conjuring movie is very bad.
Yes.
That's like The Devil Told Me To, or
The
something.
Devil
Made me do it. It's boring as sin.
Yes, it's like a chamber drama for some reason. There's like flashbacks to how they met. It's a full-on bad movie. But I'm sorry, but and then the Annabelles and the Nuns I've not seen.
No, I didn't see any nun-related things. I saw one of the Annabelle movies on a plane, and it must have been Annabelle Begins or whatever, because it was like, here's how this doll got into this house, and it's like, we got to stop explaining how shit got places in movies. Like, it's so lazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have seen the first two Conjurings. I liked them fine enough. The first one way more.
I would also go mainly because making the Warrens notorious pieces of shit into just terrible people all around. Another franchise, one that has gotten quite a lot of coverage on the main feed. Only got 2 more left to go. So the Final Destination series.
I gotta go good here, man. I don't know. I feel like these are all good. You know what you're getting. It's exactly you're getting a number 3 at McDonald's. You know exactly what you're getting. You can get it any time in any part of the country at any hour. It's gonna taste exactly the same. But you're like, I'm drunk and this is exactly what I need. I feel like that's kind of where I'm at.
You're totally right, dude. This is the cinematic equivalent of like drunk food. They're just fun as hell, and they're movies that I didn't and so like very quickly caught up. I think it was after we did like Final Destination 1. They're a ball. You watch it and you can almost hear like a Carson Daly TRL roundup in the background, like that kind of shit.
Exactly.
So for me, and I think like folks of our age at least, it's like it's a stinging reminder of that time in life.
I mean, I was a post 9/11 baby. I didn't want to hurt either of your feelings, but I was gonna say, just watching that first movie, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the early 2000s.
Yes.
You're telling me this guy who was just on a plane that blew up and was screaming, "This plane's gonna blow up."
Yep.
He's not immediately going to Gitmo.
Yep. Absolutely, dude.
But another franchise, some would say, is a very deep, poignant reflection on us. I would say you're really fucking wrong. The Purge movies, and maybe the TV show, if either one of you ever tuned in. But
this is really, where are you leaning, Andrew? I'm curious.
I was about to say, I guess I would have to say only because I'm not going to be helpful here. I've seen the first one, and that's it. And
wow.
And even with that one, I kind of didn't give a shit.
I'm also going to lead to, I'll also agree with you with Amp, but I will say I've seen all the Purge movies, so I can kind of, that first one is really bad. It's just very boring. It's mainly just Ethan Hawke walking around a dark house for almost 2 hours, and then the second and third one are a lot of fun. I do like that. It's pretty much if you wanted like a Frank Grillo Punisher movie, just watch those movies. The first Purge isn't too bad. That's where I think the third one in particular is when they really started leaning into this is important.
Yes.
But the fourth one's not too bad. That one's kind of about like race relations and stuff, and kind of like that kind of temperature. And that one's actually not too bad. And then the last one, the Forever Purge, is dog shit. That, like, just to explain, the very end of that movie, the whole movie, we have to get to Mexico. We have to get over the border to Mexico because America has fallen.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And you bet your ass it ends like Mexico has built a wall to keep out the purging Americans.
I am always all for when genre cinema of any scope can say something about current events.
Well, look at Jordan Peele.
Well, sure, but that's what I'm saying, right? Is like there are ways to do it, like Jordan Peele, like fucking Texas Chainsaw even is. But like being so on the nose about it like that is not in fact saying something. Something like Texas Chainsaw being an allegory for the Vietnam War, that's completely different. But you know, so like this kind of like, yeah, we're saying something and you're not. Embarrassing.
Now we're moving on to The Exorcist, and now we have this new David Gordon Green one, which is the first in a trilogy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do one and see what happens. How about that? You know what I mean?
Whatever happened to let's wait and see?
Like, could you imagine like meeting someone, trying to go on a date with them, and be like, "So this is gonna be the first in a franchise of dates." Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, she's like, "Hey,
it's
man,
phase one."
Exactly. Like, no, she's like, "You know what, dude? Let's just see how this one goes, and then you might get a sequel." I'm leaning good here, I think, because I mean, the first one's an absolute stone cold classic, and it's probably one of my favorite movies on this board here. And 3 is a lot of fun. 2 is pretty bad. I haven't really seen those other 2, but the average isn't that bad when you start playing around that way.
It goes beyond like being a good movie. It had implications for like blockbuster box office and filmmaking and things like that, and just like where the country was at, or where the industry was at with making movies, like what kinds of movies we were making. And in the middle you have Heretic, which I think and have always thought is Gigundo snooze fest. And I did try to watch some of that TV show, and I think it was like 2 episodes and I'm out. So yeah, good I think is right where it should be.
We come down to our final 3 franchises here. I have a good feeling where all 3 of them are going to wind up, but I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on them. So first, Hellraiser.
I mean, like, the first one's a classic, and it is, I mean, it's as disturbing and dark and weirdly sexy as a horror movie can get. You know what I mean? I think it's, in terms of like, you know, craftsmanship, etc. It's definitely a tier below The Exorcist and, you know, Halloween. But the second one kind of follows along on that pattern, even though it's a little duller in my opinion. And then 3 gets silly, and then we're just in the weeds from then on out.
I think because the first one is so good. Again, it's one of these things where like there's so much about it that's significant outside of the quality of the movie. Again, because it's another, you know, queer classic in its own way, very boundary pushing. Why I despise this franchise so much is that it's so clearly someone had a script for a horror-ish idea, and then someone else was like, why don't you put Cenobites in it and we'll make it a Hellraiser movie? It's just dumb. And I have seen a good chunk of these, actually, because I did that, like, you know, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna like sit down one Halloween season and just blow through these. Might have been when we were doing episodes on them or something.
Yeah.
And they're just dreadful. It's about as dreadful as you can get.
What blackmail did they have on Doug Bradley that he starred in all of those direct-to-DVD ones until they did like those rebooted ones? And like they just did that one on Hulu, which was fine. It was kind of okay, but like, man, what did they have on him?
You know what, Adam? I'm going to pull it. I'm older than you. The blackmail is called capitalism, my friend. And it's just that's it, dude. You got to live in this world. You need a job. You need to go somewhere every day and put on some pants and make some money for your family. And that's what Doug Bradley was doing.
He's probably got one of those driveways where like you flick the switch and it heats up so the snow melts and you don't have to shovel.
Absolutely.
You know what
Hell
I mean?
World
Like,
paid
it's
for that
kind.
driveway.
Yep.
Hell World
exactly.
paid. I don't know if I should necessarily call this a franchise. There's currently only 4 movies. But this was one that I was like, I just want to rag on this because they're movies by just truly one of the biggest pieces of shit that for some reason is still working in Hollywood. The Jeepers Creepers movies.
Clear trash because they're all made by a child rapist. Convicted child rapist, by the way.
Yes.
It's not just
Saying
things.
No. The movie's made after he was convicted and arrested and served prison time.
I have only seen the first one of this. I watched it when it came out. I was unaware of the Victor Salva legacy, such as it is. You must have really good weed or something, because I don't know what else you saw watching that movie. I've always hated it, and I never saw a single sequel.
You know, internet was going on. I did not know what was going on with Victor Salva in the late 90s. And then obviously then to come back after all that time and make that third one and be like kind of defiantly and fuck you-ishly to make that third one in the way that he did it. It's trash, man. I mean, and neither of those movies are any good. I mean, the best you can say about the first one, I think, is that it gave us Justin Long doing horror movies. That's like kind of a little prequel to Barbarian in a weird way.
I was gonna say he then went on to play a disgusting Hollywood piece of shit in the Barbarian.
Yeah,
that's right.
No, but now we come to our final franchise, and I just want to quickly, before we talk about this one, can either one of you guess how many Puppet Masters there currently are in the world?
I'm gonna go ahead and say somewhere around 14.
I'm gonna go Price is Right and go underneath you and just say 11.
Unfortunately, Andrew is closer. As of right now, there are 15 Puppet Master movies with a 16th film in production at this very moment, barring any writers, actors strikes.
Furthermore, I've seen 0 of these films. Absolutely none. I've never been into the full. Is it the Full Moon Entertainment? Is that
it's
the company?
Charles Band.
Yeah, and it's just sort of like it was always a little too winky for my tastes, even at least at the outset. I was like, eh. So I've seen absolutely none. So I sort of abstain, and just because of that, I have to lean trash.
Yeah, I'm not, and I know there's an audience out there, and it's totally fine. I do not begrudge those people anything. I'm not a gigantic Full Moon Entertainment person. There's a limit to my low budget shenanigans that I can kind of take, and I don't know. I watched that first one, was on it. I think I kind of dabbled in some of that the Nazi one there, just because Chris Cabin was like, you absolutely should not watch this, and when he says that, you gotta at least see like 15 minutes of it just to check it out. And I was like, nope, dude was right, and turned it off immediately.
I'm gonna agree with you, since Steven, you haven't seen any. I'll contribute a little bit. No, this is going directly in trash. You had mentioned with 4, 5, and 6 of Nightmare, those all blending together. 15 movies all blending together into one. That first one is really boring and not a lot of puppet action like you'd think. The second one, I think, is out of all of them, I would probably say watch the second one. That one has, I think, like the best puppet stuff, and it's really like, I just don't know what it is. And just talking about Full Moon, just what a terrible studio. Like, I want to support independent filmmakers, and like working with low budgets, but I've checked in on like some of their more recent stuff, and you bet your ass Charles Band is just making fetish movies at this point. The most recent ones that I saw, and I'm mainly bringing these up because I just want to really do one of the fun jokes that I notice in some of the episodes is he's making not 1, not 2, but 2 movies all about a giant woman.
Oh, really? Oh, good for him.
Yeah, and they are just, and it's definitely just, they filmed it at Charles Band's house, got a couple porn stars in a...
What?
Oh,
dude, I think you're reselling me on Full Moon.
Sometimes when you get divorced, so you get a little too free. You know what I mean? Like, you probably want to have somebody keeping you in line, making sure you're eating well and you're not only looking at pornography.
Hey, Chuck, you doing all right, man? You grocery shopping? You're not making any fetish movies, are you?
Exactly.
I mean, I guess I got to give props to him. It's the films look like, I don't think he had a tripod. I just think, it's impressive to be shooting any movie with only one hand. So,
oh, well done,
excellent.
Dude.
I gotta say, I like the look of our grid there.
I know.